BSI is the national standards body for the UK, and as such, a big part of our role is actively listening to our stakeholders in terms of what they're telling us society needs from standards. We're committed to developing gender-responsive standards across the board, which means we're looking how we can enable all standards developers to ensure the standards they are developing equally meet the needs of both men and women. There's strong evidence that women have faced challenges for decades in getting access to PPE that fits. And if PPE doesn't fit, it doesn't perform as expected. And so developing a standard to ensure organizations are able to provide inclusive PPE is going to make a real difference for gender equality in the workplace. Now we're going to hear from Natalie Wilson, who is on the committee developing a standard for inclusive PPE, which will help organizations to ensure they're providing PPE that fits for all their workers, including women.
The creation of BS 30417, the provision of inclusive PPE, has been building momentum over a period of time where there is a lack of understanding and awareness of the issue of inclusive PPE and why it's important, and a lack of awareness of the impact that it has on individuals. There's inconsistent availability of inclusive PPE, so that includes women's fit PPE. In a lot of cases still today, in 2024, 2025, we're still looking at there not being female fit PPE for women who are on construction sites or in quarries. The challenge is that if they're in inappropriately fitting PPE, they get secondary risks of trips and snag hazards because they're not in correctly fitting PPE. So it's not fit for purpose if it doesn't fit you properly. And that's a key message that we're trying to get across. One of the key issues is around culture in organisations and how they perceive the importance of PPE that fits properly. It is often seen as a nice to have rather than a requirement for safety reasons for a female to have a female fitting item of PPE. But the standard isn't just about women and having that opportunity to have properly fitting PPE applies across the board to anybody who has any reason why they don't fit into the standard range that's being offered. If people feel like they're in a safe environment where they can go and ask their manager or somebody for something different because they need it to do their job properly, without having a culture that then kind of mocks them or just tells them to get on with it, that's incredibly important. And that has a massive bearing on recruitment and retention. So there's lots of drives across lots of industries to increase the number of women that are working within the diverse workforces. But if you don't back that up with equipment that fits them properly and clothing that fits them properly, how valued do they feel in that environment? They don't, and then they end up leaving, and that's a massive issue, retaining female workforces in these industries that aren't addressing inclusive PPE offerings. As part of International Women's Day, I think it's really important that we keep having this conversation, because until the point where there's no gender pay gap and there's no gender equity gap in terms of access to PPE, we should absolutely keep banging the drum and talking about it. And it's only in opening these conversations and normalising these conversations without, again, othering and it becoming a them and us situation. We have to be able to have open conversations, and being able to look at things like standardisation at a test method point of view and not at a person-to-person point of view will really help support some of the development of more inclusive PPE being available.
Anyone and everyone who's interested in making a difference and helping develop good practice is welcome to get involved with developing standards. And we invite anyone to come visit our website to learn more about how they can get involved. And we would especially, on International Women's Day, like to encourage any woman who's interested in getting involved to please do so.